Now, the second part of this sacred karma cleansing practice is giving forgiveness. Regardless to how heinous the acts against you may have been, it is time to let it go. It is time to remove the bricks from your heart. You'll feel so much lighter and so much better. And most importantly, your life will get a little bit easier each time you do this practice. After all, that's the point of doing it, to remove the blockages in your present life. So let's do this sincerely and be as present as possible. So when you do the practice, you want to close your eyes and visualize God's light, divine light, from 360 degrees, radiating to all the souls that you've called to your lower abdominal area. So now, we are going to call the souls that you need to forgive. I know this part is a little more difficult, but it's very, very important in clearing karma from your life. So let's start calling all your ex-boyfriends and girlfriends, your current boyfriend, girlfriend, spouse, parents, children, siblings, co-workers, so-called enemies, every soul that has ever trespassed against you, however big or small, anyone that's ever offended you, hurt your feelings, taken advantage of you, whether they did so consciously or unconsciously, intentionally or unintentionally. If you experienced any negativity as a result of it, call those souls. So call them by name, and those you don't know by name, call the circumstance. Be as willing as you can from the depths of your soul to forgive these souls. The more you genuinely forgive, the easier your life will become. It's a pretty good trade-off. And I'll tell you something else. When you are truly willing to forgive, you may avert disasters that are scheduled for you. You may avoid a sickness that was scheduled for you. You may lessen the severity of a financial situation or a health situation. It is a total blessing all the way around to ask for forgiveness and give forgiveness. Okay, so keep calling those souls to your lower abdominal area. We're going to close our eyes and visualize God's light permeating from 360 degrees. Call yourself into this circle as well, and then we chant. This time, let's chant God's light. God's light, 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 God's light. Keep visualizing God's light. God's light, 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 God's light. Keep visualizing God's light. God's light, 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 God's light. heals me. Divine forgiveness heals you. Divine forgiveness heals me. Divine forgiveness heals you. Divine forgiveness heals me. Divine forgiveness heals you. Divine forgiveness heals me. Divine forgiveness heals you. How? Thank you, thank you, thank you. Love you, love you, love you. Gong song, gong song, gong song.